On today's episode of WatchJRGo, it is time for another home technology episode, and today we're getting sound in this house. I didn't realize how much you guys love these until I saw the comments, and these are my favorite videos to make, so here we go. What is going on, guys? I am WatchJRGo, and today we are down in the mechanical room again. And there's a lot of stuff on the way, a lot of stuff here, and we're getting all of this put together as quickly as possible down here. All the water is dried up now. We're doing really good after getting all that cleaned up yesterday. And then last night I came in here and I brought over all my new Control 4 goodies. Let me try to show you guys those there. This is the 16 channel 8 input Control 4 amplifier. This is the audio matrix. I think it's 16 by 16. It sure is. 16 RCA in, 16 RCA out. So you can have as many audio channels as you want running wherever you want. I didn't really need this, but I already had bought it, so we went with it. That's why the audio matrix is in here. And a Control 4 EA1. So that's the equipment list that's going in here. And the goal for all of this is very simple. I want a whole home audio system that works really well with high-end equipment and doesn't cost an insane amount of money. So I was gonna do it with the new Sonos amps. I can get those for about $500 each. I need 7 of them, $3,500 if I do that. If I buy them from Sonos, $4,300 in amplifiers. And eventually, as those go down in price, I'll probably switch to those, because what I actually want to do for control in this house is those brilliant light switches. They integrate perfectly with Sonos. I really do like Sonos. So eventually, we'll slap a bunch of Sonos amps on the wall. But for now, we're doing some big boy home automation gear, and it's all Control 4. Even better, I paid less than $500 for all of this. And then it became even cheaper. Now I think I have like $200, $250 in all of it. I'm gonna explain all of that as we go. So let's talk about the controller and the audio matrix first. I am an old school home automation guy from the land of Crestron, like CP2s and stuff like that. Right around the time Ethernet got added to Crestron, that's when I got into home automation. So obviously I'm like a dinosaur in that field. So I was around when Control 4 came out, like when it debuted. So when I saw an HC300 and this audio matrix and a bunch of the remotes and this box of cables for $100, I jumped at it. I was like, wow, that is awesome. That's everything I need except the amplifier. We are home free for $300. We're gonna amplify this entire house. And I should mention real quick, the endpoints are speakers, 2 speakers in the garage, 2 speakers in the closet, 2 speakers in the kitchen, 2 speakers in the master bedroom, 2 speakers in the master bath, and 2 speakers in the dining room and 2 speakers outside. So even right now, that's already 7 zones and 14 channels of amplification that we need for this house. And it'll all be controlled from your phone, from a remote. There'll be remotes in all the rooms, so you can just grab a remote and just run around controlling whatever zone you want, changing the volume, having physical mute buttons, which are very important. And it's gonna work out really well. It's gonna be nice. So I bought this stack of old gear, and then I joined the Control 4 Reddit, and let me tell you, that is the worst, most evil Reddit I've ever been in my life. I explained that I'm a Crestron guy that's never done any of this, and I just bought a bunch of used gear, and they flamed me like you would not believe, saying that I was a terrible person for buying an HC300, that everything I bought was junk, and I don't even remember. It just went on and on and on with what you're doing won't work, and go away. It turns out, don't join the Control 4 Reddit, join the Control 4 DIY Reddit, because those guys are cool. And you shouldn't, well, I'm a big believer that like super expensive custom home audio gear like this should never go in the trash, right? It should be recycled forever. So everybody on every Reddit should be working hard to keep this stuff on the road and never, you know, saying anything bad to someone trying to make that happen, right? They should be like, well, what you're doing won't really work, but we can try to make it work, because there are guys that can make really old stuff like an HC300 work. One of the guys in the thread reached out to me and was like, look, man, you're probably not gonna be able to do it with an HC300 because the one I bought has Control 4 OS 2.222 on it, and I can't download that version of Composer, so I can't actually modify the programming on it. So I got this EA1 from Tyler, awesome dude, for 80 bucks shipped, and this is a much newer controller that runs Control 4 OS 3. Now, OS 3 works well with the new iPhone app. OS 2 works with the old app. Also, the EA1 has built-in Zigbee on one of these antennas, built-in Wi-Fi and built-in Zigbee, so you don't have to make any physical connections to it if you don't want to. You can put controllers in multiple rooms that you don't have Ethernet in, all kinds of cool stuff like that. But yeah, the EA1 is like the newer one, and obviously now they moved on. There's the EA1, 3, and 5, and they get better by size. Crestron kind of did the same thing. There were like the cores, and then there were the CPs. As the numbers go up, the processors get more capable, and now there's new versions of this called Core. I think it's like Core 1 or something like that. I didn't know any of that when I jumped in. I just saw these beautiful old brushed aluminum Control 4 boxes and was like, yeah, that's the stuff right there. This amplifier, $2,500, right? This Matrix, I would assume it was probably like $1,600. The HC300 back in the day, I think it was $1,000 straight across the board, which means the EA1, it might have been less, it might have been like $750 or something like that, but that is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in gear, which is amazing. Anyway, back to what I bought. The amp was its own thing. I bought that on eBay for $215. And obviously the EA1, I told you guys I paid $80, and then I paid $100 for all the rest of this, including all of these beautifully made, somebody handmade all of these cables with Planet Waves connectors, and these are the nicest RCA connectors. If you can see it, they have like 40 fingers in each connector, and when those things connect, they make the most positive connection I've ever seen on an RCA cable. I went ahead and waterfalled all the outputs from the switcher down to the inputs on the amplifier. This switcher does have one dead output, it's channel 1, so we'll just offset all of our switcher outputs by 1, and then they all run down here, and then all of our speaker outputs are down here. So give me just a second, I'm gonna clean this up. I brought some Velcro over today so we can make this look a little bit better, and look how much spare cable I have. That's all spare. All of these old component cables, super, super nice. Whatever house this system came out of was very well done. Now that you know what I paid for it, let's talk about the amp. The amp I bought off eBay, and it showed up, and when it showed up, it wouldn't turn on. It was DOA. So this is the amp, the C4 Amp 3B or something like that. And apparently, it's kind of common for these to get damaged in shipping and be DOA. So I took it apart, I did all the troubleshooting real quick, right? I made sure I had power into the power supply, and I did. And the power supply was making this noise like a whoosh, whoosh. And if you guys have ever watched any electrical repair videos, you know that's like the switching power supply, rebooting nonstop kind of noise where it won't turn on, but the turn on circuit is like trying to start and it can't do it. Well, I went through and I checked all the fuses just to make sure I ohmed them out. There's 2 ceramic fuses. They both ohmed out good. And then there's a big header that runs from the power supply to the amplifier board on this. It's got 8 wires on it, 4 48 volt plus and 4 common. So very simple. It's all 48 volts DC feeds this thing, but a ton of amperage because it does output like 130 watts on every one of those channels. It's a big amplifier. It needs a lot of power. So it wouldn't turn on. I hit up the eBay seller. I made videos of it making the noise, sent it to him, and he refunded my money and said throw it away because it's a boat anchor. It weighs a lot. Well, I went to dinner, and when I came back like 30 minutes later, I'm gonna post a video of what I saw. Here's what it's doing. Oh, it turned on. Something's seriously wrong with it though. It sounds like the power supply like restarting over and over and over. That's right, it was making like a typewriter noise from the power supply, this crazy clicking, in a very typewriter cadence, and the thing turned on. And then the clicking went away and it became that, it kind of still sounded like capacitors like charging and discharging. And then after like 3 hours of being on, it cleaned up. So it's on, it definitely has a bad power supply and I am going to need to figure that out and replace it. But for now, it works and it was free. So honestly, huge shout out to that seller for just taking care of me. And also, you know, I'm just glad that this amp is repairable. It won't be that big of a deal to fix. Those power supplies are like $80, so it will cost me a little bit of money or I could recap it. But when I looked at the power supply, there's a lot of brown stuff around one of the ICs on it. And it doesn't look like capacitor leakage, it looks like something got a little too hot or something. So that's the amp story. We got it cabled up last night. Today, it's time to run some Ethernet cable from the amp and the switcher and the processor up into the switch. I do have actual patch cables coming so that we don't have any of this nonsense going on here shortly, but they won't be here for 2 days or something like that, and then we can hook everything up and make it look uniform and nice. I also cut down those old shelves and turned them into like a workbench kind of thing that looks a lot better for all of the home audio gear here yesterday. And we're ready to rock. So let's get these cables out of here, cable up our equipment, and hopefully get connected to it. Just to close one earlier thought as well, I did mention the EA1 has built-in Zigbee. The HC300 did not, and you had to have a Zigbee access point or endpoint to connect to your remotes. So these remotes, now it's got low battery after 3 days, but I will say it had nothing to connect to for 3 days. So it would have been retrying nonstop. We'll put, these take 4 AA's, they are monsters, but two-way communication, you know, they show what's playing on the display, they show all the room status. Anyway, these are great remotes, and now I don't need anything else because the EA1 will handle all the connections to the remotes. I got 4 of these as part of the deal too, so that'll be perfect. All right, everything's set to DHCP, so it should come right online here in a moment, and we'll get the laptop out. Well, we spent about 2 hours programming, and now I've got my Zigbee remotes set up for multiple rooms. We got 4 of these remotes. Turns out these remotes are dumb expensive. These are SR250s. It looks like I should be looking for SR260s because they have color screens and they show the volume in the room. These don't show the volume, but anytime you just use the volume, it adjusts the volume for that room. You can also pick any room in the house. I think if I hit list, change room, list, change rooms, main, floor, basement, floor, kitchen, master bedroom, garage, master bathroom, dining room, master closet, back porch. I can flip through all the places we're gonna have speakers, and if we hit listen, we immediately have AirPlay, which is just aux in, and Spotify Connect from the phone. So anywhere you're at in the house, you can just send sources down to this. The only problem is I can't use it today. So the EA1 does not have an analog audio out. It only has HDMI out. So we got an HDMI audio extractor that will be here tomorrow. And then I'll grab a spare TV. I've got some little tiny ones that have just been sitting in the basement for years. And I'll probably put a mount or set it beside this thing just so we can see the on-screen navigator, even though we won't really need it. Also, my phone can control it. It shows the full UI on my phone. So even if I'm not in the house, we can adjust this thing, which is awesome. We can just VPN in. Well, it connects natively, but we can also VPN in and have full control wherever we're at on the phone. And it looks good. It looks really good because, you know, this was $5,000 of gear that I have 500 bucks on. If you ever need to manually do anything, you can just grab the jog dials here and you can manually connect matrix items and you can manually connect inputs to amplifier channels and stuff like that. It's super cool. I shouldn't ever need to do that. I also found out from Tyler, these are Control4's custom made cables. So somebody paid, he said, an insane amount of money, and you would order these to length after you got them in your rack, of course, and then Control4 would make these. So I wouldn't doubt that somebody paid like $25 each, maybe even 30 for an RCA. These RCAs are actually coax, RG, made in USA. How wild is that? CL2, of course, in-wall rated, UV resistant, 750 ohm coax. Crazy. So these were custom made for your project back in the day for very expensive houses. That is how I built a multi-$1,000 nice house control system into a dirt cheap audio distribution system for my house. Pretty awesome. Also, I've got an HC300 and an old speaker point, a bunch of old Control4 hardware that came with this. I'm gonna sell all that, and hopefully I might be close to net zero after we get back out of the stuff that I didn't need, and we have all the stuff that I do need. So I might end up with this whole setup for 100 bucks. After a lot of work, running a lot of wire, we've got 2 rooms that are done now, and when I click garage on, yeah! It gets rowdy in here. Oh, look at this. Let's go inside. Continue the tour. Wait, we gotta wait for the drop. The drop is important. Man! The garage is so loud, dude.
The garage is vibrating.
Yes, you can feel it in the floor. That's crazy.
And that's 2 8s and 2 6
2
and a
8s
half.
and 2 6.5. And then
Klipsch built these with magic.
dude, Klipsch. First of all, that amp is also epic. But yeah, these Klipsch speakers, they have magnetic grills, of course, and there are actual metal switches, not junk plastic. You pull off the magnetic grill.
Let's take a look at them.
It's actually really hard to get
My
that grill
fingernails,
off. Yeah,
I just cut them.
if you can see that tiny little nub, there are metal switches for 3 decibel pads for bass and treble. So you can actually physically adjust the speakers, or we can go into Control 4 and change the EQ. That is so nice, dude. All right, we just need to scrape the ceilings, paint, put some sheetrock on this wall, put some speakers in the closet, put some speakers in the bedroom, and we're there. We're getting there. I even closed the piano before we drilled all this sheetrock out. So, awesome. I'm pumped.
Heck yeah.
Thanks, man. Pulling wire is a 2-person job, guys. And we also have the wire pulled for the back speakers, and they're already hung, but it's 30 degrees, so we're not doing it.
It's probably less than that now the sun's down.
Oh!
It was 30 degrees with the sun up.
You're right. It's going down quick.
Gross.
That is it for the audio and video episode for the day. I'm excited to make these ones. Hopefully, I think Chase is coming over with the other set of 2-inch conduit tonight, and we'll drill some more holes and pull that in. And I have some speaker wire, but I've got 500 more foot of speaker wire that'll be here Saturday too. I ordered everything, but it was all coming Saturday. After that, it'll all be finished. This will be wrapped up. Even banana plugs to make connecting all this to the amp easy. Over here in the water zone, always improvements, always improvements. This is the RO system, the same one I run at my other house, and I love it. And I really hate that nowadays everybody wants to sell you these under-counter ones that mount the filters. You can see the filters. They all sit like this. And that is terrible because you have to put them under the sink. I don't want anything to do with this under the sinkness, so I managed to find the old one. I think this is a WHREF 25 or something. WHER 25, that's what it is. Anyway, that's an old system. It's getting harder to find, but the filters are not hard to find. And I don't like any of the ones that have big giant filters like this, and it seems like most of them do now. And I don't need all of those. I just need a simple pre-post and a membrane in the middle. So we've got that. I'm gonna hang it up right now. We'll put it up here and knock one more piece of the water puzzle out. Part 1 is mounted. The RO filters are all ready to go. And then on the same plane that I mounted this on, I drew a little line right here. We're gonna put a shelf there and build a little small 1x box above it. And that is where the RO tank will sit. That should keep everything up and out of the way, and hopefully the water softener only comes up to here-ish. If it's any taller than that, it'll look kind of weird, but I think that's gonna be perfect so that everything fits on the wall. And of course, our manifold is here, and I could mount it. Maybe I should. I planned on waiting to get the manifold up, but I couldn't wait. So it's done, and we've got our valves all set up, and I'm just gonna go ahead and tape off our top connections until we actually make those probably next week and start running all the water for the house out of the manifold. I can't wait for this because there are a couple circuits like the bathtub and the master. That's what those drips are. You can hear it, it never stops leaking. So as soon as this is ready to rock, I'll run a line over to this bathtub and we'll solve that problem by shutting it off for now. We made it halfway there on the pressure tank for the RO system. Obviously I got that hung and I was ready to do my shelf. I bought a 1x2 and I've got some plywood ready to go. I was ready to build this all, and all of my screws are way too long and they're all gonna go all the way through the plywood into where the tank needs to sit. So unfortunately, I got it all done except for screws from the bottom. So we'll get this finished up tomorrow. It's late, everything's closed. I could go home and get the screws, but we're not gonna do that. The one thing we are gonna do is a real test. So what's that thing hold? 2-3 gallons, a gallon of water is 8 pounds, something like 24 pounds. We gotta make sure it can hold 24 pounds. I think we're good, yeah. Holds, that's a factor of 5 right there. All right, that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop WatchJRGo.com for cool shirts not like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. We got a lot of random stuff done today. We're mostly done with the Control 4, just need to cut in speakers at this point. Mostly done with the filtered water, just waiting on the water softener, and we can really just start hooking things up. So, a lot of progress, we're just waiting on the one fun, important thing. I can't wait to put this in. Anyway, that's on the next one.